Hi everybody, welcome to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, and this is the day that I've been waiting for, the first update for you on the World of Wayne / Sprueverse challenge, or as I like to refer to it as Build the Movies Jaws. I sent Wayne a kit. He didn't know what it was. We opened it live on his live feed last Thursday. So if you didn't check that out, please go check it out. It's on his channel and it's also on mine. Well worth it, lots of fun. And we just enjoy building these kits together. There's a slight competitive edge here, but for the most part, it's really to just enjoy the hobby and celebrate the sort of the fun of building models together. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, let's dive in. The first thing I wanted to do is let's move Bruce out of the way and reintroduce you to the kit. Here it is. This is from a company called PEGASUS, what I call a small batch builder. They don't have a large manufacturing capability, but they build an awful lot of small batch kits, and they've done some really good ones. I have built their Nautilus, and I have also built their Hopper. You can check those out on my website, which is sprueverse.com. And you can also follow my updates on Instagram, and that's at Sprueverse. So the thing I wanted to tell you about this kit, and Wayne mentioned it the other day, is it's an odd plastic. It's sort of vinyl, really. 20 years ago, there was a company called Horizon. Some of you may remember that company, and they were building all of the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, as well as some figures from the Batman movie that had come out at the time. They had the Penguin, they had the Joker, and they were all in this vinyl. They went together quite well. And they were basically kits that you really spent more time painting than building. And I think that's probably true of this kit. It does not have a lot of pieces. It's not a complicated build, but what it is representative in my mind, or as close as we're going to get, to one of the most iconic moments in film history. And that is in the movie Jaws, which came out in 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg. And for those of you who have never seen it, at a key moment in the third act, Hooper has to go down in the shark cage that he's brought on board Quint's boat to confront Jaws, Bruce, with the sole intention of killing it with a highly lethal injection that was going to be delivered through a shark dart. This shark dart is lost in a surprise attack by Jaws, and it falls to the bottom of the ocean, and there it stays. And so that's the moment we're capturing. This is the kit we're using to capture that moment. We are intending to pour these kits into resin blocks. I have no idea what's going to happen because I've never done this before. And I don't think Wayne has either on this scale. So we're either going to come out with something that is absolutely amazing and brilliant, or we're going to have piles of melted plastic at the bottom of some funky mold that will be chalked up to a big goose egg in the modern day modeling world. But, you know, let's find out where we get there. Lots of drama and lots of fun. But this is the kit. And if you want to build this kit, it's from Pegasus Hobbies, and it is called the Great White Shark. And it is available at all hobby stores online and locally. So let me start by talking about what I did first. Now, uncannily, Wayne and I seem to attack the same things without knowing that we're doing that. I attacked the shark cage first. What I have is a couple of frame grabs of this cage, but I also have this. This is a book called Jaws, Memories from Martha's Vineyard. It is a massive book. If you can get a hold of it, I think it's still in print, but if you can get a hold of it, it's really worth it. I think originally sold for about £35 in the UK. I had this book on hand, and so I thought, oh, I'll strum through it and I'll see what I can find. Now, curiously enough, the only reference there is to this cage, this shark cage, comes on page 258. And you can see we've got a production shot of them preparing what appears to be the cage coming up out of the ocean. Obviously, Hooper has disappeared, and the shocked and dismayed Brody and Quint realize that perhaps their compadre has been eaten. So that's one of the photos. And curiously enough, you can see in this photo, we have what I think are sort of ballast tanks to kind of create some kind of buoyancy for the tank. And that has been dented. And you'll see here, we've got some buckled and some mangled bars. There's a shot here of Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper looking through the cage. And we can see here the ballast tanks, one of the ballast tanks. We can see the sort of lookouts, and they're equal on all sides. There's quite a little bit of wear and tear to this. So I think I'm going to age this and put some washes on it and paint it with various different aluminums and colors like that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Here's an interesting picture. It's a production still. Now, this leads me to believe, I was wondering, was this cage a real cage that was purchased, or did the prop department build this thing? It doesn't look very safe to me. But I don't know. Maybe for 75, this was as good as shark cages get. But that is it. There are no other references that I could find in this particular book. But the reason why I liked these particular references is because they were very helpful. They gave me some places to jump off. So I went to work on that. What I have done is I have slightly extended my cage. To be fair, it is not as super screen accurate as perhaps it could be, and I want to be honest about that. The reason why I have done this, guys, is because what I wanted to be able to do is give my version of Hooper to sort of be in this cage and have some scale and depth to it. And I think just visually, it will make a lot more sense. The other thing that I went to work on is the ballast tanks themselves. Now, originally, these tanks were twice as long. So what I have done is I have essentially cut them in half, puttied them, and done some seam work on these. And now they are perfectly scaled, as you can see here, to my tank. That's how that's going to look. There are obviously two of them. Here they are. They fit on both sides at the top of the tank. Now, is this the moment where the shark has just about to attack? Is it the moment where he's already inside the cage, which is obviously the most dramatic way to go and probably the way I will go? Now, what's curious is, if you watch the movie, the production team sent a small crew to Australia to film with, shall I say, a rather petite guy. I don't know if he was a little person but he was a small guy. I mean, he was barely 5 feet tall. And they did that for scale reasons, because obviously they wanted to film him confronting a great white shark, and they wanted to be able to scale it up. And if you look in the movie, you can actually see the moments where they've cut that footage into the film. And curiously enough, that shark cage is not the same cage. So they clearly didn't ship that cage to Australia. They fashioned one that was sort of close, or they found one that was relatively close and used that, obviously. And so there are several moments in this film where the cage and the bars of this cage don't quite gel. There are some frames where the bashed inside of the cage is completely gone. There are moments where it's buckled. There are moments where it appears to be so buckled that there's no physical way anybody can get out of it. But anyway, so I think it's one of those fun things where you can take some creative license, but you do the best you can. But I think by the time this thing is painted, and I've put all the little sort of working moments on it, it should look pretty good. Now, the other thing is in the film, in some of the frames that I've noticed, the actual top of the cage, it looks like that. However, it is hinged several different ways. So I'm going to go with this way, I think, just for the purposes of my build. I may put a few anchor points on it for winch ropes and that sort of thing, just to detail it up. By the time I get my ballast tanks in place here, like this, that's going to do the job quite nicely. And I think, as you can see, again, I'll bring Bruce back into the frame. You can see we've got some really fun scale going on here. So that's where I am on the shark cage. Now, I caught Wayne the other day talking about what he's doing to make our diver look more like Hooper. Great minds think alike. I was doing exactly the same thing. Now, I have removed the armatures from the hands of this figure that originally had it holding a camera. I removed the pin from its left arm so that I could lower it, and I've putted the arm, but the arm that will hold the shark dart is up. So he's pretty much ready to go. The only other thing I did do, now I know that it came with an air tank with its mouthpiece that had a small piece of vinyl attached to it. I have snipped that off and I just added a piece of wire to the top of the tank. There were several different versions of these tanks. I know that the back of him has a wire here that is hanging down, but I'll probably just remove that because the regulator looks to me a lot nicer in this position, as you can see. And I just think encased in resin, I'm going to get more drama out of that. You know, I want to be able to see as much of these models as you possibly can. So I think that that's going to work really well. I have added a beard, and the way I did that was I used a little bit of my dimensional craft paste. I love this. I've talked about this ad nauseum on my channel. This is from Testers. It has a multitude of functions, and so I've used that for his beard. Now, he needs a shark dart, so I have created one. What that is it is a piece of brass pipe with a smaller piece inserted in the very tip of it. And then I just took a sewing needle and I pushed that into the final part to get this dart. The handle is going to be painted in the dark brown. The top here will be left in the brass as it is in the frame grab. And I just capped the very end with a little bit of sprue goo, just melted plastic and capped that off. So that's ready to go. So I'm very happy with that. The real thing here is going to be a really fun paint job. And in the film, Hooper has a black wetsuit, which is great, but the arms are a dark blue. So that is an update on the cage, an update on the ballast tanks for the cage, an update on the character Hooper, and his dart gun. So that basically makes up one of the two central pieces of this kit. And the other piece is obviously this. This is Bruce. Now, I think this is a really good sculpt. I'm going to have so much fun painting this. I mean, I think this is everything. The scale of this to the diver, the mouth, the red and the white teeth, you know, that getting that sort of that jaw. Can you imagine how frightening that is, seeing something like that in front of you? I mean, I think I'd have a heart attack. This is sculpted out of vinyl. I have been using Squadron's gray putty. This is not as terrific as the green for plastic models, but for the vinyl, it's doing quite a good job. It's drying quite hard and it sands quite well. And so now it's just a function of sanding and puttying and sanding and puttying until that major seam goes away. The other major seam that I have is the dorsal fin, and I'm still working on that, as you can see. But other than that, it is completely constructed, except for, you'll notice, and I'll pull it off, his lower jaw. And this is one of the fun things about this kit, which is it comes with two versions. It comes with the jaws open and a version with the jaws closed. Now for the jaws open, you can see there's detail inside here of the tongue area. And so all of that has to be painted. So I'm going to have to detail that out. Then I'm going to attach it to the kit itself, finish my bonding and sanding. Then I'll have to protect it. And then I'll do a final touch up on the jaws themselves. But for the most part, the kit is together and now it just needs to be cleaned up, as they say. One of the things that we're going to do, as I've mentioned, is try to encase this in resin. There are several big unknowns for me. So to that end, the next time you see me, we're going to be doing a resin test. I've got some arriving in the next day or two, and we'll do a test. The only other thing I did want to say to you is I picked up this. Now, I'm glad I did. Now, I only paid $20 for it. It is a very cheap aquarium tank. But here's the thing. When I put the model inside, it barely fits. It barely fits. Now I can adjust the stand a little bit to give myself some angle change, but not much. I have to live with the angle I'm given here. But what I'll do is put the cage in and I put it up against the model. We take Hooper and I drop him down into the cage. Well, it's not the exact angle, but you get the idea. There. You can see what I'm up against in terms of how do you actually pour this in resin. But I'll tell you this, it's going to be amazing when it's finished. I mean, if we can get this right, oh my God, this is just going to be awesome. Now, because I'm going to try and suspend this in the center of my resin, my plan is not to pour 4 or 5 different layers and then drop it in and hope I hold it. I need it in this position. I'm going to replace this plastic rod with a clear rod. And it'll be a glass rod. So I'm guessing in the water it should disappear. I'm going to leave this base on because I've got some ballast sand that I'm going to pour on the bottom of my mold. And that will hide the base. But it will leave Bruce in the exact position I want him to be in. And for the cage itself, I'll construct something a little less crude than this clip that's holding it on right here. Got myself a little bit of kelp here. And I printed a Jaws logo. Here, that's a freebie for you, Wayne. Print yourself up a Jaws for yours as well. I would print one for you and send it to you, but it'll cost me $10,000 given Brexit and shipping and everything else. This aquarium holds 5.5 gallons of resin, which is about $700 if I use the resin that I think I'm going to use. So what I'm thinking I can do is put some kind of a release agent on this glass. And then when it sets up, I can use a very sharp knife and I can cut the silicone away from this glass and pop it out. So that is my update. Things are going quite well. I will film the entire resin pour. So no matter what happens, good, bad, or awesome or tragic, I'm going to film it for posterity so that nobody misses a moment of this epic Sprueverse historical build. I'm just over the moon that Wayne and I are doing this together. And I'm also thrilled that all of you are going to be along for the ride. Your comments and your subscriptions really mean a lot to me. If you've just found me, by the way, and you liked what you saw here, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. So there it is. That is the first update of the Sprueverse Challenge, Build the Movies, Jaws, with my good friend Wayne Green at World of Wayne. I've posted an awful lot of pictures and I'll continue to diary those pictures on my Instagram account at Sprueverse. So if there's anything you want to know, it'll be there. If you have any questions for me, you can get a hold of me at sprueverse@gmail.com and I'm happy to answer any and all of your questions. So there it is. Be safe, be well, build something, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.